Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Reality Whisperer Webcast. I want to thank everybody for joining me online here on YouTube live stream. So we have a very exciting show for you tonight, and this is going to reflect extraterrestrials and interstellar alliances. So I want to thank everybody. Again, the live Q&A chat is available. So just feel free to tune in to the watch page here, and you'll see the web chat there. And of course, later on in the broadcast, I will be taking live Q&A from the chatters, so to speak, who are tuning into the watch page. So if you guys do have a question, just make sure you have it written down, or maybe just copy and paste it once we get into the Q&A segment, which will again be at the latter half of tonight's show. So before we officially get started with the Reality Whisperer Webcast, firstly, we're just going to be doing some announcements here. So firstly, giving a shout out, a thank you to our affiliates and supporters, portaltoascension.org, live online conscious events. So again, some really exciting events are going to be taking place with Portal to Ascension as we move into the summertime. And of course, there's always some amazing conscious events taking place online at the comfort of your own home, in your PJs, while you'll be able to look at some amazing experts that are going to be presenting information through Portal to Ascension, so feel free to check that out. And of course, we have the Pot of Gold YouTube channel run by my good friend Rainbow Lightbeam. Again, some really great information about true history, secret info, and hidden knowledge. So again, you can just go to Pot of Gold YouTube channel. You can just type in POT, capital POT, of, and then capital GOD. YouTube channel, and you'll again see that eye with the rainbow colors in it. And again, he has some really amazing videos coming out, sharing a lot of really great information from Alex Collier, Randy Kramer, Alina Kapolnik. Even my videos are going to be compiled in there pretty soon as well too. But he's doing a great job, and he's been a great supporter of Reality Whisperer, and of course of the Inbound online TV series, or I should say the Inbound short film that's coming up here that we're going to be filming in the summertime. So those are our two sponsors, and I do have an announcement. This is relating to the Inside the Secret Space Program free online event. So this is going to be happening on Sunday, May 29th at 12 p.m. Pacific and 3 p.m. Eastern on Google Plus Hangouts. I would love to do it on the live events on the live stream here, but it's a little bit tricky to get multiple cameras on this particular type of software. Still working out some of the bugs, but we're going to be on Google Plus Hangouts. And of course, we're going to be diving really deeply behind the scenes of humanity's best kept secret, the Secret Space Program with Randy Kramer and Alina Kapolnik. So all three of us are going to be there and sharing a lot of this great information. And of course, what's really great is that there will be live interaction. So you guys will be able to ask myself, Randy Kramer, Alina Kapolnik questions relating to all of the information that we're going to share. It's going to be a lot of great information that's going to come about here. So that is very exciting. And of course, I am Brad Johnson, realitywhisperer.com. Feel free to check out the website for sessions, Akashic record readings, light circuitry, family ancestry clearing, digital courses, of course, free videos, free meditations. And this weekend is going to be the unveiling of the Abundance Attunement series course. So you guys will actually be able to utilize the ability of abundance attunements through an online course that you'll be able to download. And this is why I've reduced myself from doing the online live abundance attunements, because this is a technique that anybody can use, and it's quite easy to learn. So this is basically what the Abundance Attunement series course is going to present to all of you. So that will be available this coming weekend. All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started with this juicy episode of the Reality Whisperer Webcast. So we're going to firstly take a look at a current event. Well, I was talking yesterday on Facebook relating to something that I heard from Alina, and she was talking about that there will be a NASA announcement. And so the NASA announcement happened today. And of course, it's official. NASA just announced 1,284 new exoplanets orbiting alien stars. And so when I was getting a feeling about this, it's like, oh, maybe they're going to talk about some type of life that they found on an exoplanet, or maybe they'll talk something about Mars, or maybe it's a long shot. Maybe there's something about ETs. And then I say, it's official. NASA just announced 1,284 new exoplanets orbiting alien stars. I believe my exact reaction was, what? Oh, cool. That's great. That was my reaction. So I'm sure there's quite a lot of people that may enjoy the excitement of this, about over 1,200 planets that have been discovered. To me, it's as common as breathing in and breathing out, right? It wasn't really that exciting to me. But, if you get these NASA nerds talking about these planets and saying, well, we're going to go ahead and try and get a satellite over there sometime, and maybe we'll take some snapshots, and maybe we'll start talking about the type of methane or oxygen deposits that are in these planets. Oh my God. Snorefest. No offense, but yeah, Snorefest. So that was my own reaction relating to the NASA news today. And I was like, oh, okay, great. Maybe they'll talk about life on other planets. Well, this could lead possibly to some type of discovery of life. I'm like, are you friggin' kidding me? All right. Well, NASA, that's great that you have that boring, okay, I should say, maybe exciting to some, that boring or exciting news for some pertaining to that. So I was basically maybe getting my hopes up quite a bit yesterday, saying, okay, maybe this will be a good first step to disclosure. It's not to say that they haven't set the stage in some ways, if still getting those baby steps moving forward, which is true, which is good. But again, just looking into the amount of exoplanets out there, in its own way, it's kind of cool because you can get an idea about the type of planets they're getting the data. And if you're a data miner, you may love that. But I think from a lot of people that are on my channel, they want more. And so who can say? Like I said, I think it's really getting to the point now where the people are going to start bringing about the information, and not about allowing these government agencies or the governmental factor to try and bring about a lot of this disclosure. I feel, again, a lot of the disclosure that's coming out is people-powered. It is coming through the grassroots. So again, this is why I always put in a lot more benefit by looking into the grassroots stuff, rather than feeling that if we're going to wait for mainstream, we might as well be waiting 100 miles down the road, waiting for a tortoise to eventually cross the finish line. That's really the whole idea, and that the hare represents us. We're the speedy grassrooters. And we're presenting a lot of this information, getting some amazing feedback from secret space program insiders and psychics, intuitives, contactees, channels, etc., providing some really amazing information. And then sometime later, these mainstreamers will come out and say, oh yeah, this has happened. Like, yes, we knew that like a few decades ago. Thanks for showing up, small, slow tortoise. So that would be my particular perspective on that. But of course, always going to be more. All right, so we are going to go ahead and move on to tonight's show. And again, tonight is all about extraterrestrials and interstellar alliances. So what does that entail? Well, we're going to be looking at different types of ET beings. Not all of them, of course, because, it's just, there's an undetermined amount of beings, something that really cannot be calculated. But we'll be looking at some of the root ones. And we're also going to be looking into the type of confederations, the type of alliances, both that are human-run and others that are run by extraterrestrial consciousness. So firstly, we're going to go ahead and just pull up this nice constellation graphic here. So I can basically say that with all of the particular constellations that we see just in this image alone, there exists life. There exists sentient life throughout all of these particular stars. Basically, many of the stars that we see in the night sky, as NASA is now starting to admit, is now starting to see a large amount of planetary systems coming through each of these particular stars, through these constellations. And that human life is very abundant. Again, as many of us know who have been following a lot of the grassroots information, human life is very abundant throughout the entire galaxy. And of course, in other galaxies, and so on, and so on. And so, when we're looking at extraterrestrial consciousness, when we're looking at all of these particular beings, how did they get here? Where are all these beings coming from? How are they migrating from these stars? What are these planets like? Are there beings that just exist on planets, or do they exist in other particular types of celestial phenomena? Are there beings that exist in the sun? Yes. They may not be human or humanoid in that particular type of appearance, but they do represent a type of plasmatic energy that exists in the sun. In fact, later on there is a clip I'm going to show everybody about a celestial being and connecting with the sun. So we're going to be looking into that here in a little bit. But again, the idea of Earth-like planets are quite common throughout the entire galaxy. Well, if that's true, then what's so special about our planet? We have an Earth planet here. What's so special about us? It's more so special about everything that is contained upon the planet, everything that represents its equilibrium. So again, extraterrestrials have been here millions, or even dare say billions, of years, relating to the planet Earth and even relating to our own star system, that there has been a seeding of life. And primarily these beings from other universes that have reached a state of completion will open up the opportunity of transit to come through black holes. And they will start to seed worlds. They will start to manifest worlds. Out of pure thought, they will start to geoengineer worlds with advanced technology and, again, consciousness-based technology, and being able to flourish the surface with a wide variety of life, flora, and fauna. That, again, represents the first density, where we're looking at the elements. We're looking at earth, wind, fire, air. What did I miss? Earth, wind, fire, air. Yeah. Okay, got it. And of course, looking into the second density, moving more into nature, into animals, and of course then moving into third density, looking into humanoid, or again, sentient aspects of life. And so this is like, again, a sandbox, just a giant sandbox, is that the galaxy basically is putting out a call to flourish its body by allowing other aspects of life to come through. It's kind of like looking at the cells of our own body. We have this physicalized canvas here, but inside there is a universe all in itself. We can look at our own organs as galaxies, and we're looking at the cells deeper into the organs. We're looking at our bloodstream, etc. Well, that is basically what's giving the body of the galaxy. Other particular beings coming from other universes that have been contracted, that have actually heard the call from what the galaxy is stating and saying that I want to have life here. I want to have life in these quadrants of my body. And so specific entities from other universes that, again, have reached a state of completion, transiting themselves into black hole, white holes, etc., and moving into this universe, into this galaxy, and now being able to spawn life throughout other planets. So again, if we're looking at NASA, they are, eons behind in understanding this particular type of concept. But fortunately, again, I don't feel that NASA itself will be the big pinnacle pertaining to disclosure. But as we're looking into a lot of these planetary systems, into these star systems, that our galaxy is being seeded. It's, again, starting to become fruitful. Its body is still in a state of design. It's always being in a state of creation. And so when we're looking at the quote-unquote race or races that were responsible for the engineering of the human genome, of creating us in the way that we are currently configured, this all just came through their own society as well too, that they had creators as well too that created them, and of course their creators had creators, and so on and so on and so on. And so our universe, yes, represents a certain form of age, but again, as we understand, there is more than just one particular universe. There are countless. And so we've had this infinitesimal understanding that we really cannot calculate about how vast the idea of our own consciousness science, or the realization of our own bodies, stretches back into all these particular types of universes that we do not have access to at this current point. But that is basically how it all begins, is looking into all these different arrays of life, from human to humanoid to non-human to plasmatic to whatever it may be, are all occupying the stars, are all occupying the aspects of space in between stars, are existing in between the folds of different dimensions and densities. It is a rich, beautiful cosmos. And so we are playing the game together with all these beings that exist, that coexist, that are watching us. And again, we may not be too familiar with us. Maybe just a few people on the planet, a handful of people that are aware of a lot of these particular types of beings. Even with my connections and channeling with Adronis, I've only been introduced to quite a few different beings, but that's just a crumb of a cookie, so to speak, relating to all the immense amount of life that exists beyond our world. And the universe is just teeming with life, again, as many of us know. So we're going to take a look firstly at the first category, which will represent human ETs. So again, this is just a common image that we can find on Google Images. and that these can represent different types of beings. These can represent beings that are Pleiadian or Tau Cetian. Some can represent Lyran. Some can represent Procyon or Cetians, etc. So human life is very abundant throughout our galaxy. And that many of these different humans, in regards to how many people have viewed them, almost feel like they are quote-unquote supermodels from space. Usually they're very much in good shape. They take care of themselves. They're either very muscular or very fit. And they just have this incredible intelligence. Not every particular being can speak a vocal language. In fact, a lot of them are very highly telepathic. And that there have been certain forms of testimonies with people who've stated that they've had contact with these beings, and sometimes they'll just hear, a feeling, an image coming within their mind, or they may hear a voice inside their head, or basically the beings will basically just put their hands up and start doing a type of sign language, while you actually see this ray of light coming out from their brow chakra and penetrating your own head into your own brow chakra, and now starting to receive all of this understanding, like a movie that is playing out within your mind. So it could be decades worth of information that is coming into your mind perceptually, well within seconds. So we have, again, these type of humanoid beings, and of course, hey, there's Adronis. So I want to thank my good friend Vashta, and her website is www.vashta.com, for creating this portrayal of Adronis. And just in the way that I contacted him all the way back in 2008, this is very much how he appeared. And this is a very accurate portrayal of Adronis done by Vashta. So she did an incredible job. I've also had a few other people in the past as well too do some renditions of Adronis, and they were bang on as well too. Kind of looking at this tall, blonde hair, blue-eyed, Nordic-like being. And Adronis, if you were basically to put him in that kind of vision that I've had with him all those years back, it was basically that he was about 7 feet tall. So he was very tall, just has these long kind of golden locks, so to speak, blonde hair, blue eyes, really tanned in that way. His uniform was kind of a silver blue, so kind of a silver uniform, and then there's like blue stripes around the shoulders as well too. But again, the uniform gives a good depiction. It's more so in the idea of the face and the hair and the eyes, which again give a really great accuracy relating to Adronis. So again, Adronis himself represents that of a human Nordic being. Now he does exist in the 6th density, but understand that 6th density from their perception is still somewhat physical. It's more so in the idea that they exist as starlight, but in their own perceptual range, that is a physicality to them. To us, that would just be, a realm of light that we really couldn't even digest, because it operates on such a lighter density. But where Adronis comes from, that is basically his own physicality. This is also what he represents when he was of the 5th density energy as well too. So that is where sometimes confusion can come through, saying, "Oh, Adronis, Brad, if Adronis is 6th density, shouldn't he just be starlight consciousness? Why is he this particular type of being?" Because understand, when you're in the 6th density, you exist beyond space and time. You can basically materialize yourself into absolutely anything you want. You can create a depiction, and this is exactly what Adronis has shared in the past, is that even though they are existing as 6th density, as starlight, they can still project themselves in regards to what they have looked like in other particular dimensional energies. And that where he exists within Sirius, 4th, 5th, 6th density, back in the 4th and 5th density, that was very much the appearance of the idea of these Nordic, blonde hair, blue-eyed ETs. And that is what Adronis represents pertaining to that. So it is very possible that when you're in that state, it's just as easy as him to project a thought form that will manifest holographically, just as easy it is for us to breathe in and out. It is not difficult in his particular perspective. It is possible that he could actually manifest a body and come upon this planet and start walking. He says he hasn't done that, but that is something that he's done that is something he could do in regards to capability. So again, the human ETs can often be seen as mediators, agriculturally advanced, being able to work on other planets and helping to, again, assist in the biosphere, being able to work and helping to nature to cultivate. And that's really our particular task as human beings here on this planet, is to take care of the earth, being able to ensure that nature is protected, being able to interact with the animals and the elements, with all of nature, and being able to be on call. It's kind of like we're caretakers on call, that we are helping the earth to expand, we are evolving ourselves, and we're actually helping to take the earth into different places as well too. That's really a human being's purpose when you're really looking at the idea of the human archetype. They are agricultural, natural caretakers. That is our energy if we're looking into such a genome as that. All right, we're going to move on to the second category, which represent the Zetans. Okay, we could often be referred to as the Greys in that way. Now again, there's been a lot of sharing as it relates to the Zetans or to the Greys themselves, and some say that that they're extraterrestrial in a way. In a way, some can be. Some that may not look like the idea of actual gray beings, and that they're more of a pale color. Some again have different types of arrangements, orientations physically, and there are beings that may look quote-unquote Zetan-like or gray-like, but they are not. Ones that may have longer necks, ones that may have larger heads, different types of eyes, different skin color, etc. Maybe sometimes there are beings that are absent of a mouth or even absent of a nose can even exist as well too. But the Zetans can often be referred to as a cybernetic organism, and that they basically came from another parallel reality. And Bashar actually described this quite well, and it is quite accurate. That they basically came from another parallel reality, another parallel Earth where during the time of the atomic bomb, the atmosphere blew up. It basically just, cut out. And in order for them to survive, they had to go into the interior of the planet. And with all the radiation that was happening upon that parallel Earth at the time, they somehow found a way, somehow was left behind the impossibility for them to reproduce. And so they basically continued to genetically engineer themselves, and in an attempt to survive, and that they could not reproduce anymore. And so factions of these particular beings left their own parallel Earth and came into our concurrent timeline, as it were, and basically started to make contracts with the Earth, started to make contracts with other spirits that were looking to incarnate on the planet. And it's basically what we could refer to as a pre-life or pre-incarnate existence. And the Zetans would basically state that we're looking to preserve our race. We need to have sufficient genetic material as a hybridization to recolonize our species, something that would represent an essence of what we were. And so there have been certain beings upon the planet that said, yeah, sure, just come with me in a certain point of life. You can contact me and I will assist. And of course, the Greys themselves are cold logic. We can look at these beings and these cyborgs as cold logical beings. And so they do not know how to be a person with bedside manners, so to speak. They are just very unemotional. They don't understand emotions. They are very much in cahoots with the idea of artificial intelligence, with AI. And so they don't have a clue about how to deal with humans. And so some of them will actually have liaisons on board ships, human liaisons. That, again, this represents a co-creation of something that will produce a natural development of a hybrid race. So again, like the example of the Yahyel, like the example of the Pla-Yel, like the example of the Shikani. That represents these examples of these offshoot races that have been commingled, co-designed, together with genetic material both from the Zetan energy and the human energy. And that it is very true that many of the factions now exist within the star known as Zeta Reticuli. We also have other particular Zetans that exist as Orions as well too. There's also been some of them in the Pleiades. Now, there's been a lot of talk in regards to saying, is it true that the Greys are gone, or the Zetans are gone? They are no longer in our star system. Yes, this is true. The Zetans have basically been kicked out. And so they basically had a base, and Randy Kramer talked about this as well too, which I felt a very good confirmation with. I believe it was a base on Ganymede that they had, and they were basically told over and over and over again, it's time for you to leave, it's time to vacate. Yeah, whatever. Nope, wait a minute, it's time for you to go, it's time for you to vacate. Yeah, sure, whatever. And then eventually they had to gear up and had to go in there and destroy their bases. And that is basically what led the Greys to be chased out of the star system. And so when the time came for quarantine, those beings left. The Draco Empire left. The Zetas left. And so they are no longer in the star system as it relates to their factions. Could there be some riffraff left over? Possibly. But in regards to a lot of the official channels relating to the actual factions of the Zetans or the Greys themselves, that they have already been booted out. But primarily, they can also be reproduced. It is actually very easy, if you're looking into certain forms of secret space programs, to actually duplicate or replicate a body that looks like a Zetan or a Gray. And these are known as programmable life forms, and so that they can actually be reproduced, and they are complete clones. And they can basically just have a microprocessor or type of CPU unit embedded within the brain, and are actually controlled through signals. And so these can also represent counterfeit Zetans in that way, or referring to just pure cyborgs or compute clone cyborgs of these particular beings. But again, you really can't understand a lot of what these original or these clone Zetans are like. They're just very robotic, very cybernetic, very cold in logic. The ones that were soulful, in that way, the ones that actually did have soul in them, basically see their vessel as a punishment device. There was actually one person I was talking to who I did a session with a while back, and he basically encountered a Gray or a Zetan, whatever you want to call him. Gray, Zeta is fine. But basically being able to go up into his attic and seeing this Zetan try to grab him, right? And this happened, I guess, some time ago. And basically he was able to hold on to this particular Zetan because this being was transparent, was semi-transparent. He was basically in this physical reality and wasn't. And so basically phased in that way. But there was still an opportunity to grab him. And basically he just got a telepathic statement saying, "Let go of my punishment body." Or "let go of my punishment suit," right? That is basically how Zetans look at their body. They feel that they are cursed. They feel that they have been completely embedded into a state of slavery, and that they are just completely enslaved by the Draco Empire. That's basically what's happened, is the Draco gets a hold of them, and they start tweaking them as well too, and basically just make them this particular type of slave race. And so they have basically felt that they are completely disconnected from the idea of a creator. Right? They just feel that they're here to have nuts and bolts, physical reality, and work with technology. It is the artificial intelligence philosophy. It's rogue AI philosophy that they adopt. And that was basically much of their energy. But they wanted to be able to go past that. And so there were certain Greys who wanted to see that they could actually develop certain forms of hybrid races, and being able to propagate these on other planets, and saying that through these hybrid races, let's work together in helping to harmonize a lot of this karma that we have placed upon themselves. And that is basically the Yahyel, the Pla-Yel, the Shikani job, is to basically come back to this world, like we're seeing, with an example of Bashar, and again, some of the other aspects of the Yahyel with Kidioki representing the Pla-Yel, who I haven't channeled in a while, but I should probably do another channeling with him pretty soon. But basically just coming back to this planet and saying, we're sorry. We want to apologize for what our ancestors have done to you. And in order to make up for this karmic debt, we are here to serve humanity. We're here to be mentors, to be guides, to assist you in a hands-off approach, and being able to reconcile a lot of this genetic karma that we hold within our body, that of course your genetic information is part of our body as well too. And so we're here to work off a karmic debt. That's why a lot of the hybrids are coming back, because they know about what the Zetans were doing all the way back in the 1950s. If we're looking at the idea of the time of the post-Roswell in that sense, and basically making all of these deals and switching technology and attempting to again feel that they could do whatever they want. They could go ahead and they could abduct people and do some pretty nasty experiments, working together with government agencies, and again doing some pretty nasty experiments. And so there's a lot of karma that was being brought upon the planet at that time relating to these Zetans. And so basically their children, in that way, the hybrids, are basically attempting to make amends with what has happened throughout that, and attempting to say our ancestors were irresponsible. It was really just more garbage on top of karma. And so we're here now to try and relinquish that energy, to try and harmonize and heal and repair that energy. And this is why, again, a lot of mothers, for example, that have hybrid children, and even fathers as well too, are being introduced to these beings, because again, there is a karmic association here. So basically, when you've heard Adronis or Bashar or any other particular types of channeled entities talk about that the Yahyel would be one of the very first beings that would actually make open contact, that's very correct, because again, they have a very deep intimate interpersonal relationship with humans as a way to work off karma. And so they have volunteered themselves and saying, no, we want to be the first. When the human beings are ready, when they're ripe to the idea of disclosure, we want to be the first to introduce ourselves, because this is our way of reconciling in regards to what our ancestors have done to bring to close a gap between the humans and between the Zetan energies, which is what we represent and associate together in that particular mix. And so that is very much their task if you're looking at the hybrid agenda in that particular way. Everybody has an agenda, it's all part of it. Even us ourselves, we have an agenda. We want to advance ourselves. We want to heal the planet. We want to work together in that way and realize the capabilities within ourselves. That's an agenda. It is not quote unquote bad to have an agenda. We all do, just in our own way. It's more so in the idea about what plays out, what connects in that way that can be something that is harmony or lack thereof. And even when there's lack thereof, there is still lessons. And there are lessons that help to really show a person what they have been doing in those old lessons for them to move forward into a higher degree of consciousness. So again, that's why we're all here. All right, so that is the Zetans. So now we will move on into the Insectoids. Okay. Now this is very interesting. Is a friend of mine, Cynthia Crawford. Some people may be very familiar with her. She is basically known as the ET Sculptor. You can find out more about her just by doing a Google search. And I think her website is etsculptor.com. But she showed me a picture of a friend. This is, of course, not the friend. But she showed me a picture of, I guess you could say, a friend or a contact that she had. And basically this guy is just a human being, but he was able to bend his arms exactly like a mantis. He was actually able to stand like a mantis. His head was kind of bobbing like a mantis as well too. It's a really incredible thing to see. And so the mantis beings, for example, insectoid races. We have a lot of different types of insectoid races. We have ones that look like beetles. We have ones that look like ants. We have ones that look like mantis. We have other ones that may even look like, I think, what was it? Moths or something like that. So there's a lot of different types of insectoid races. There's also arachnid races, but I'm not going to, freak people out. There are basically tarantuloids and stuff like that. Basically humanoid spiders or humanoid scorpions. They exist as well too. But if we're focusing mainly on the mantoids or the insectoids in that sense, they are just highly intelligent. And from a lot of people who I've talked to that have had associations with the mantoids, these beings are just emanating so much love. They may look intimidating, but when you actually see one, from a lot of the ones that I've heard about, they are just glowing with this beautiful light, and they are so loving and so helpful. A lot of them are just masterful linguists as well too. They're able to share a lot of really deep, amazing light language through a lot of their transmissions as well too. So they're very, very loving beings. It's not to say that there isn't, another particular type of polarity, but through all of the people that I've contacted who have had associations with the mantis, the mantoid beings, very loving beings, basically just here to assist humanity, really teaching a lot of different types of sciences as well too. They're just extremely intelligent, extremely friendly. A lot of them are singers, right? So that's something that is just really quite incredible. Looking at the mantis and the mantoid. I basically did a CA5 contact a couple of years ago, and the CA5 contact is where you're again putting a call up for sightings for ships to come through and communicate with you. And during the middle of that night, I was able to walk a little bit more deeply into the dark forest, and I was able to just kind of close my eyes, and I would see these apparitions of mantis beings, and they were just completely surrounding us. Very loving, very accepting, very wonderful beings. And I was like, oh, this is great. Why don't you guys show yourselves? Like, no. If we showed ourselves to the people that are with you, you would freak out. So basically, they just wanted to kind of stay in that form of astral apparition in that way. But many different mantis beings were just surrounding the entire area, and they're just filled with love and just wanting to assist and wanting to help humanity. A lot of it, again, just relates to dimensional science and, again, linguistic understandings, healing. There's so many amazing things that these beings can do if we're looking at the mantoid or, again, insectoid races. Again, many different types, but this is just the one I wanted to focus on primarily, was with the mantoid being. Okay, so those are the insectoids. Now, of course, we come to the reptilians. Okay? A very, I guess you could say, misunderstood aspect is that, the reptilians are here and, they're responsible for a lot of the agendas. They were all part of creating the slavery system, etc., etc. Well, you can look at the Draco and you can see in that particular way. I do not have a picture of the Draco, of course, but you can look at the Draco and see that, yes, there's been some very primal, anti-free will aspect pertaining to a lot of the Draco. But there's even Draco in that sense that are not in that particular alignment. We've always thought that, if you're looking at the opposite of humans, you would see reptilian, right? You would just see the idea of these, the awful beings, and they're all about conquering and enslavement and trying to abolish free will. Not all of them are. And I know there's a lot of people here that may be watching this that are Treb fans, right? Looking at Trebor Yitney. Wonderful reptilian energy that Rob Gauthier channels. Even before I knew anything about Rob, when I was connecting to certain reptilian beings, loving healers, I'd see these reptilian beings like in these white robes and these kind of like large collars as well too, like collars that would just go up to here. And they would very much like the reptilians in that picture. And just filled with love, again, just kind of seeing this aura around them and wanting to be of assistance to humanity, wanting to heal. Because as much as there could be, yes, certain forms of primal reptilian agendas that were responsible for shaping a lot of our culture, there's also other particular beings, just like in the situation with the Zetans, of these other beings that want to come back to Earth and reconcile, because that will happen. That will happen within our future. We will have reptilian beings coming here and saying, we want to make amends. We want to come forward and we want to clear a lot of this karmic debt that our ancestors and that other particular sub-races of ourselves have caused. And we want to come here and we want to reconcile. We want to make amends with this. So again, they will be doing much to what the hybrids are doing right now as well too, is being able to come forward and offer their assistance. Now, basically the reptilians are very amazing. They're probably the most technologically gifted race probably in the entire universe. That's how amazing they are. They just have this intelligence that is, insurmountably incredible. But they have come here, and a lot of the primal, ancient aspects of the reptilian has always been the idea of conquest. The feeling that we're going to stick a flag in a territory, this is ours. Anybody dare touch it, they're going to be met with very severe aggression. That really represented, again, a lot of the ancient Draco. And, we're looking into the idea about what has caused the ancient Draco to be that way, and then we're looking into rogue AI, right? And looking into the idea of cold logic. That really represents, that's their god, that's their deity, pertaining to the idea of artificial intelligence. And so that is how many of these particular primal reptilian, that's just what I refer to them as, primal reptilian philosophies, or draconian reptilian philosophies are. But there are many reptilians that do not follow the draconian philosophies. They follow more of the harmonious philosophies. They follow a creator philosophy. They're reptilians that look just like dragons, right? And some of them can be very harsh and brutal, and some can be just majestic, gorgeous, divine, and graceful, right? So again, anytime we're looking at a species, we have a coin. We're flipping a coin. We have those that are lacking in harmony, and we have those that are very much in service to harmony and want to become that harmony itself. So we're always looking at polarities. I see so much on the internet but saying, oh, the reptilians did this, or the reptilians did that, or the Greys did this, or, we're basically profiling a lot of these particular beings because of the actions of a certain group. And that is, to my own perspective, idiotic. It's really being able to look in the idea that all particular beings have polarities. We're not here to judge a group, because that's basically, how would we feel if we were being judged by all of these particular races that are with us right now, and saying that those humans, they're such idiots. They don't take care of themselves. They don't take care of each other. They don't take care of their planet. They're wasting their planet into the ground. They're good for nothing, right? That's not describing all of us, right? That's stereotyping our own particular form of group mind in our own particular human consciousness. And that's not the situation. We do have people that have a lot of cruelty on this planet, that are very completely hell-bent on wanting to create an empire and are greed crazed, etc. Yes, those people exist, but there's another side, right? So it's about looking into an individual. It's like looking into an entity and knowing that when you have this really wonderful experience with an entity, whoever it may be, maybe it's another human ET, maybe it's a reptilian ET, maybe it's a mantoid, whatever it may be, and knowing you had this wonderful experience with them, are you going to continue to judge the idea of the group of where they come from? About being able to say, well, their bloodline and their genome is reptilian, so maybe I'm supposed to fear them. Even though I had a wonderful experience with them, maybe I'm supposed to fear them. Maybe they're doing some kind of trick to me and stuff like that. So we get into that alignment by profiling, by stereotyping races, and that is cosmic racism. That's the whole idea of it. And, we're attempting to overcome that on our planet. But because we are still dealing with that, we'll attract, the apparitions of these particular races and attempt to label them as horrible race, they're destructive, they're chaotic, damn those reptilians, damn those greys, etc., right? And that's basically us just planting another seed that represents a celestial racism, a cosmic racism. And that's not the place where we want to go down, right? It's about knowing that, yes, there are certain groups that have agendas that are not on our, harmonious wavelength as well. But that's okay. Send them love. That's the whole idea. We encounter people every single day that are not on our harmonious wavelength. Do we have to spend the entire day complaining about how horrible they were to us? Or are we going to accept what's happened, give them blessings, and saying, whatever happens, I wish them well. And now I'm going to continue on my life because I'm choosing what I feel is appropriate for me to evolve, to expand and understand. So again, looking at it in that particular way, because you're looking at, just all of these different types of stereotypes about, maybe the Queen of England's a reptilian, maybe, maybe Barack Obama's a reptilian, maybe there's this and that. It's all this reptilian jargon, right? It's not to say that there aren't agendas, but the whole idea in that sense, it really doesn't serve you to look in the idea of saying, maybe someone's a reptilian, or maybe there's all reptilian philosophy and blah, 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 right? Where we have different types of philosophies. If it's something that you don't prefer, acknowledge you don't prefer it, bless that energy, because love helps to heal all, and continue to work together with what serves you, rather than the idea of indulging in this type of cosmic racism, right? So if we really want to move into harmonizing that energy of humanity, racism that is now starting to be overcome, we need to continue to work on that, because we're going to meet incredible beings in the generations ahead. We're going to meet all types of different beings from all walks of life, from all over this galaxy and beyond it. And are we going to repeat that history about what we have been doing relating to racism as it relates to how we want to see a person of a different color, person of a different look, different shape, right? We need to look into the idea about how far we've come and realizing that there is a place in this universe for everyone. And that's the whole idea. If we don't get along with somebody, that's okay. Send them love. Continue upon the path that you know you prefer. And so that's really just kind of giving a bit of an overview that I've heard for years now about people talking about just bashing reptilians or bashing insectoids or bashing the greys or even some human ETs, etc., whatever it is. Bashing, bashing, bashing. It doesn't help anything. It doesn't help to procrastinate. It's being able to notice that you have an issue with something. This is something that you're holding on to very deeply because of some type of programming. And so you really need to look at that and saying that this person, this being, this extraterrestrial brought something out of me that I'm now realizing, because those mirrors will just continue to expand throughout the galaxy, throughout the universe. It's not just here on Earth. We got some very powerful local mirrors here, but when we start bringing our attention outwards, those mirrors are going to reflect as well too. So we want to be very mindful about what we're putting out pertaining to any type of prejudice or judgment between any type of being, because again, they're all just reflections of us. Okay, we're going to move on now into the feline energy. Okay, so again, some nice little Google images here of a feline energy. The cat people in that way. There can even be those that represent lions as well too. I also have another picture here of a feline being. So again, we're looking at the cat people, the feline. Maybe something like the movie Avatar may just come up, looking at the blue Na'vi in that way. But again, some more amazing, beautiful beings. I've had connections with feline energies as well too. They're just gorgeous. A lot of the females. I haven't really worked with a lot of the males in that sense. The males in that sense can really be like a lot of the warrior kind, they're very tough and rugged hunters in that particular way. The females just seem very gentle, very loving, just smiling all the time, lots of love. And of course, for cat lovers, I'm sure you guys will love the feline races. But again, it's just very interesting of the type of beings that exist, because we're on many occasions being able to look at the different types of ETs. We can see some type of sentient version of an animal consciousness or of a plant consciousness or even an elemental consciousness that exists somewhere else. And the reason why that is because it is a reflection of our own consciousness here on this planet about what we are able to interpret through relationship. So this is why, and it's saying, well, Brad, why aren't there beings that look nothing that we can associate with on this planet that are out there? Aren't they there? Of course they're there. But the whole idea is that we're playing a mirror game, right? We have to understand what is our own relationship, the relationship to the animals on our planet, the relationship to nature, to everything that we understand is the blueprint on this planet is being radiated out. And now that energy is returning to us with some of these particular beings that look like felines, beings that look like reptilians, beings that look like insectoids, etc. As we eventually venture out into space and become an intergalactic society, we'll start to notice that there are beings that we can't even relate to. Just being able to look at them in some type of peripheral understanding, maybe some pictures or something. I can't even identify that with the type of being that I've seen. Well, that's now giving you an opening to form a new relationship. So a lot of the beings that are coming here, again, human or non-human in that particular way, are representing some type of reflection about how we understand relationship to our world and all life upon it. And so we can identify it in that some sort of way. Reptilian being, feline being, mantis being, reptilian, gray, etc. All of those are something that we can identify with because we have some type of rapport from what this planet has shown us. And that's how consciousness works. It's just reverberating and saying, now here are reptilians in different forms that are extraterrestrial, that are galactic, and are coming forward. The mantis that are coming forward. Other human beings that are now coming forward. Feline beings that are now coming forward. All parts of different distinguishable states of relationship, because we have been able to understand that type of rapport that is bringing them together and saying, you can really enjoy an alliance with us because we just look like the cats on your planet. We have that cat-human relationship, and I see a lot of people that react to the felines like, oh, they're so gorgeous, and the cat lovers, like I said. So again, it's all just part of what we resonate with, right? And again, what we're connected to. And again, like I said, there will be beings that we have no relationship with, that no recognition of, nothing on this planet that we can even compare them to, that will eventually make themselves known through some type of new established relationships as we become an intergalactic culture. And then those beings, in regards to those reciprocations of relationship, will start to come together. So it's like just throwing a pebble into a ripple of a water and seeing these ripples cast out. And now those ripples are now coming back to the 0 point where that pebble landed. And now coming back and saying, well, you see a reflection of this on this earth? Now here's a reflection here on a cosmic level. And so that's how we're seeing a lot of different beings that look a lot like other different life forms on our planet. All right, so we're going to look on to aquatic ET. So basically beings that may look like fish, beings that may be amphibious as well too. So we have kind of a kind of fish-like being here. There's another interesting one, is that when I was interviewing Alina Kopolnik, she was telling me about a hammerhead type being, and that's kind of something I found here, is looking into beings that kind of look like a hammerhead shark. And basically we didn't need to go into water in that sense, basically had certain forms of configurations that allowed them to be to stand and be in this kind of oxygen environment. So again, more different types of beings. Looking into the amphibian beings, there's beings that look like frogs as well too, beings that look like fish, beings that look like hammerheads, some that even look like actual great white sharks as well too. Dolphin beings as well too, being able to actually look at dolphin humanoids. Those two are available. So again, it is a vast, beautiful, wonderful cosmos. Again, different personality archetypes based upon these different types of beings. Just all depends in regards to who you connect with. So, like I said, there's no shortage of the type of beings that exist. And everything that's just shared here tonight really is just a tip of the iceberg about the type of beings that are there. Some people are saying that they've seen beings that look like Klingons from Star Trek. There are beings that, again, look like just so much different types of light configurations that you really can't even get an idea. Beings that look like phantasms in that way, right? It's so rich relating to the type of beings that exist. Just this enormous smorgasbord of life from all corners of the galaxy, from all corners of the universe, that are coming through and interacting with in some way. There again are some certain beings that we can, again, have no understanding or rapport relationship with. They're just passing by, say, oh, here's a planet, look at that, look what they're doing there. They're all thinking they're separate, they're all thinking they're individuals. That is hilarious. All right, I gotta go. Right? Aspects like that. It's very funny as well too, because there are a lot of beings that, from what Adronis has shared as well too, that can't believe we act the way we do. They can't believe and say, come on, you telling me that these beings are actually believing that they're individuals? You're telling me that they actually feel that they're separate? That is the biggest joke I've ever heard in my entire life, right? And they come and they see Earth, oh my God, what have they done here? What are these humans doing? Why do they always feel that they're debating with each other, they're fighting with each other? I don't get this at all. I don't understand these human races. Well, pass the popcorn. I'm going to watch it for a while. Oh, look at them. Oh, they're having a dating fight. Oh, that's interesting. What's dating anyways? So they'll get into it, right? So we have beings that are just coming here, munching on some intergalactic popcorn and just kind of taking a look at what the human beings are like. And to them, it's fascinating, looking at a culture that is just so feeling that it's separate, that it's in division, in divided duality, the individuality. So to them, that's fascinating. It's something that is so alien to them, they can't even perceive that. I say, I don't get why these humans are so individualized. How did they do this, right? And of course, there's liaisons that talk to them about how this all began, and they still don't get it. So what can you do? Call a spade, right? All right, great. So we're going to go ahead and move down to the next point, which is, again, just other ET beings, other extraterrestrials, beings that are rock-like humanoid beings, just at times where I wasn't able to find enough photos on time here. But rock-like humanoid beings, again, beings that just look like human and rocks. They're just like a pile of rocks, and they're just actually seeing like rock biology. Kind of like the Thing on Fantastic Four. Kind of looking in that particular way. I've seen beings like that as well. Geometrical shaped beings, example, a triangular head or a tetrahedron head beings. Now, Corey Good has talked about kind of a very large, like 12-foot triangular headed being. In my visions, I've actually seen a tetrahedron-headed beings. It's almost like a suit of armor, and there's like an absence where the neck is, and you're basically seeing this tetrahedron just slowly start to rotate and kind of emitting these kind of beautiful rainbow light spectrums as well too. So those type of beings exist. Plasma beings, swirls of light or mist or energy. Complex configurations of visual stimuli. It's kind of like what Randy Kramer is telling me about these kind of beings where you just need a minute or two to find out what are they? What is this being trying to portray themselves as? I need a minute here. My brain cannot process what this being is trying to pose themselves as. These advanced kind of plasmatic beings or phantasm beings, etc., that just exist in different dimensions. We can't even compare them to anything, in that way. So just different complex configurations of how to just take a minute and try and get some type of relationship of image that we can see. And of course we have celestial beings, space organisms, amoeba, jellyfish the size of moons and small planets. Some are even larger than Jupiter, latched onto our own sun. Okay? So again, a lot of fascinating, amazing beings here. And we all think that, let's take a look at a humanoid ET. Let's take a look at even a non-human ET. Oh, that's pretty neat. Now we're actually looking at celestials, right? We're actually looking at organic beings that exist in space. And it's like an ocean, right? We're looking at all of these different types of celestial beings. Corey Good has talked about amoeba that is actually feeding on atmospheres. Like if you're looking at Mars or if you're looking at Jupiter, you actually have these amoebic attachments, and they're like feeding on the atmospheric energy of the planet, just almost like getting milk from the mother in that sense. But there's a really interesting video that I came across. I came across it a while ago, but I was just able to put it together here. And so I'm just going to show that video to you now, and then we'll kind of give a bit of analysis to it. So I'm going to go ahead and play that now.
de un objeto esférico oscuro muy cerca del Sol, que pareciera estar absorbiendo la energía de nuestra estrella, algo que nunca antes se había observado así. Por la distancia a la que se encuentra de la superficie solar, debe ser enorme, posiblemente mayor que nuestro planeta. Observe con toda atención. La esfera oscura permaneció cerca del Sol durante más de 80 horas. Cuando se alejó, generó tremenda turbulencia en la atmósfera solar, que se agitó durante más de 5 horas, lo que demostraría que efectivamente el objeto desconocido está ahí. Este objeto se encuentra en los archivos originales del sistema de imágenes de la NASA, HelioViewer. Logramos confirmar que efectivamente esta esfera negra aparece en las tomas desde el 8 de marzo del 2012 a las 14 horas del tiempo universal, cuando comienza a ser visible. Se va aproximando y claramente se observa que proviene de una zona fuera del Sol. Al acercarse, va atrayendo filamentos de energía de la superficie solar. Permaneció así hasta el 12 de marzo, fecha en la que fue desapareciendo aproximadamente desde las 0 horas con 15 minutos, cuando comenzó a retirarse. Observe nuevamente cómo genera turbulencia en la atmósfera solar. Las llamaradas de fuego por la presencia del objeto se agitaron durante casi 6 horas. Los controladores del telescopio espacial quedaron desconcertados, intentando explicar este acontecimiento nunca antes registrado. No existen antecedentes de algo igual. No hay registros de algún objeto extraño que pareciera estar absorbiendo la energía del Sol. El telescopio solar dinámico con el que fue captado este video es el último telescopio espacial solar.
All right. Wow. Pretty cool, huh? Now, basically, a lot of the UFO experts in that way are basically trying to see that this is like some type of spacecraft. This is a space vessel that basically latched onto the planet, maybe is getting solar fuel in that way. My own perspective is that that is not a spacecraft at all. That is a celestial being. These are basically like these types of amoeba that will again attach to atmospheres and will start to again nurse energy in the atmospheric fields of the planet. And that basically this type of organism that actually connects like a tether or like a cord in that particular way is basically siphoning energy from the planet. So again, kind of like looking at the sun as its mother. And so basically we're looking at the umbilical cord of this particular organism actually feeding off the energy of the sun. And these are organisms. These are celestial beings. These are organic. And they're enormous. We could look at something the size of Jupiter. We can even see something maybe even larger than Jupiter that is just tethering itself upon the star of our own sun and just being able to feed energy and staying there for quite some time as well too, until that you see how that tether detaches and basically flushes off. That is a very organic principle there. That is not something that is a nuts and bolts spacecraft, right? There are living spaceships. Even Elena Koponik has talked about that as well too. Organic-based vessels in that way. But these are basically life forms. They are just existing in space, much like how much of our aquatic or marine life exists in the oceans. And so space has a different type of living arrangement with it. We're actually looking at celestial life forms, maybe ones that look like, again, amoeba or paramecium. We may also be looking at other ones that look like jellyfish or even manta rays, right? Being able to see these enormous planetary-sized or even larger celestial beings that exist within our own star system. That, again, we're seeing something like this for this example, caught up into this video footage and NASA being confused. What is this? What's going on here? Because again, they just cannot get the narrow-mindedness to open, and being able to accept and understand that there is different classifications of beings that exist. It's not just the idea of thinking that when you're in outer space, the only kind of stuff you're going to see, maybe you'll see some passing planets, maybe you'll see some moons, maybe you'll see some space debris, but everything else is black. No, it's not. That again is something else that we are not being told. Something else that's not being addressed here is actually looking at celestial-based organisms. So basically what I refer to as CBOs. So we're looking at celestial-based organisms that, again, attaching to our sun, attaching to planets. Even Randy Kramer's talked about a lot of gas clouds that are in space as well too. Randy Kramer's also talked about pockets within the universe as well too, that the universe works together with pockets, or as Adronis refers to it, as a hyper-clustered universe. And so basically the whole idea of believing a lot of the unified field theory needs to be improved, because there are pockets within the entire universe where everything can happen. We have cold parts, we have hot parts, we have dimensional openings, we have wormholes that can open up in these pockets. It's not just the idea of just one big gigantic open space where we're just flying through and all we see is interstellar space. All kinds of phenomena that are available, and perhaps a lot of the ETs, when it comes time for us to move into that migration, will be educated very highly relating to what's actually existing in space that we're not being told in that way. So again, looking at celestial-based organisms, larger than Jupiter, many times the size of Jupiter, maybe even about a quarter the size of our own sun, that actually exist. And just being able to see how that detachment of the tether felt like everything was fluidic in space, like just a bunch of fluid. Because it's almost like looking in a petri dish at this amoeba and just seeing how these amoeba just move around and are very organic. And again, seeing that tether just break apart and just seeing this thing flush out. Incredible. To me, that's amazing. I remember first seeing that, I was like, that is not a spacecraft. That is not a spacecraft at all. That's a celestial-based organism, right? So, incredible is all I can say relating to such phenomena as that. So, maybe in the times ahead, we'll look a lot more into celestial-based organisms. All right, so we're going to go ahead and move on here into interstellar alliances. Now, again, it's very important to understand that these are not all of the alliances that are categorized here, especially when we get into the ET interstellar alliances. These are just some very basic ones to giving an understanding. But again, there may be some people that come up to, oh, wow, Brad, actually there's this organization, or there's this alliance in that sense. That's great. We're not here to go through a mile-long list of all the ET alliances here, all right? But if we're looking at the Earth-Human Terran alliances, from what has been shared, Solar Warden, Radiant Guardian, Lunar Operations Command, Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate, Global League of Nations, Argothan Network, Dark Fleet. Okay, we can also look into the Secret Space Alliance or the Earth Alliance as well too. That can represent a conglomeracy in its own way as well too. But again, we have Solar Warden, Radiant Guardian that are basically these patrollers, this patrol agency that is, again, helping to kind of maintain order, so to speak, in the inner and outer star system. We have the Lunar Operations Command, which exists on the moon. The Interplanetary Corporate Conglomerate, which Alina has talked about, is not doing some really nice things right now, really working into kind of a control agenda, all run by these different types of corporate heads. The Global League of Nations, I think it's a Global League of Nations in that sense, I'm not too familiar with that one. The Argothan Network, of course, existing within the interior of our planet, and Dark Fleet. And Dark Fleet represents this kind of like an incarnation of the Empire from Star Wars, and that they are basically affiliated with the Draco Empire. Okay, and so we have ET alliances here. So if we're looking at extraterrestrial alliances, the Confederation of Planets, which has been talked about in the Law of One, the Sphere Being Alliance, which is talked about through Corey Good, the Association of Worlds, talked about through Jonas Bashar and other hybrids, the Galactic Confederation, and again, of course, there's others that refer to it as a Galactic Federation of Light. That's fine. From my own particular perspective, when I was writing this down, it's basically that the actual organization would be known as the Galactic Confederation, and that's like a super federation. That would probably be the largest of all the alliances together, is this Galactic Confederation of thousands of different beings. I should say actually second largest confederation there. Silver Legion, of course, Galactic Council. Galactic Council, again, would be considered the largest. That would be the one that is basically the mainframe of all interplanetary, interstellar groups that are all linked together. So it's like you're looking at Confed of Planets, the Association of Worlds, Galactic Confederation, all linked into the Galactic Council as this kind of central hub. Then, of course, we have an Andromedan Council, which, again, a lot of people have heard about. intermixed defense security intervention fleets. So we have different types of defense fleets or security fleets or interventional fleets that are existing around the planet. Lyran, Pleiadians, Sirian, Arcturians, Cetus, Alteran, Procyon's another one. There's quite a lot of different types of beings. Venusians even can be placed on that as well too. And that they are basically here to just, again, assist in certain forms of patrols. They do defense, security. They're also intervention fleets. It's what Adronis was talking about the other day relating to targeted individuals and actually allowing some type of intervention on a hands-off policy to come forward. Well, these intervention fleets would respond, and they basically assist to protect that particular person so that they are not harmed, and they can also work together on a free will arrangement that, again, does not allow them to have hands-on policy, but being able to work together with them, sometimes, again, sharing visions about what needs to be done to alleviate any of these particular types of targeted individuality situations. And of course, we have the Draco Empire, which again has basically been booted out of our star system right now. And they would be pretty much like the top dogs in regards to all this information. So that is, again, just giving a bit of a rundown as it pertains to a lot of these groups. And so the big question after that is saying, well, what are these groups here to do? What's basically their role in that way? Well, if we're looking at the role of the interstellar alliances, to oversee jurisdiction of intergalactic trade. Randy Kramer and Alina have both talked about the idea that there is major intergalactic trade happening in the star system. Have a lot of different beings coming here and wanting to trade things for other things. So we have a lot of different trade commerce, so to speak, that is taking place here in the star system that is very abundant. Monitoring planetary alignments and celestial passages, and so a lot of it has to do with realignment or actually being able to alter trajectories so that there's no particular harsh bombardments to where there is life. So really being managers, administration, for ensuring that everything within the passageway of the star system is safe and secure. Defense, intervention, and security operations of spacecraft and celestial phenomena entering and exiting the star system. So again, as Corey Good has talked about, that there has been a barrier erected just outside of our star system, and that there are a lot of screenings of different types of beings that are coming in and out of our star system. Some that can be considered hostile, some that can be considered benevolent in that way of looking at it. But there are basically fleets that are working together with human fleets to ensure that there is a security in that way throughout our entire star system. So we could be looking at Solar Warden, we could be looking at Radiant Guardian in that way to basically kind of move into enforcing a type of order in that way. What is that like? We don't know. We'd have to have more people come forward to see, what kind of security operations have you guys been running, etc. Right? So we only have bits and pieces of that information. Hands-off mentoring and healing services offered to specific entities. Now, again, there's other people that have been on board spacecraft that have gone into these healing chambers, different types. Some are technological, some are just basically rooms that are filled with crystal. Some can be pods as well, too. And they can actually have some certain healing services, not so much just for the physical body, but energies that can actually work to actually heal a lot of the astral bodies, our own transient bodies in that way, that can actually become damaged. And this can also be through the implantation of codes as well, too, that can be embedded and encoded into our own transient body to then be sent back into our physical body and then assimilated with all of this information of a healing degree, of information degree relating to these codes that are now coming back into these entities. Again, some people have had physical contacts going on board spaceships, on spacecraft, and being able to see a lot of these healing rooms, these healing chambers, being able to go out on these nature decks and seeing all of this beautiful foliage, some that look like Earth, some that may look completely alien in that way. Looking into the different type of spacecrafts that they have. Also being able to just have these incredible spiritual uplifting mentoring sessions with some of these other beings as well too. Just saying things very simple that you never thought would actually impact you. But again, working together with mentoring, and again, like what Adronis is doing with me and what many other contacts are doing with other channels and psychics and intuitives and secret space program insiders, contactees, etc. Being able to offer this type of mentoring and saying that we're passing this on to you so that you can pass this on to your people, so that we're working into making an uplifting world happen here. disclosure specialists, and delegate negotiation for treaties and interspecies introduction. So again, there are kind of like contact specialists in that way that are again working in this kind of mentoring capacity to letting people know that they're out there. This is maybe what their species is like. This is where you're going right now as a species. This is where we feel that your future is headed, and being able to look into other different types of races that are working together throughout your star system, or again that have some other particular type of association with you. So again, these are just some of the particular roles that are known as it represents other civilizations and interstellar alliances that are here on this planet. So again, this is just an overview. This is like a 101 video looking into the idea about different types of ET beings and interstellar alliances that do exist. Have there been skirmishes in the past? There certainly has been. Just my overall feeling of when I've connected with Adronis and talked about that, and I've asked him, have there been a lot of skirmishes that happen around the star system? And it's a rare thing. It's kind of a rare thing to actually see a lot of skirmishes breaking out in the star system. There's been a lot of just an attempt to bring peace to this entire star system, because it has seen its eons of war. It has seen centuries of war in times past. In regards to what happened with Maldek, with the explosion of Maldek, and everything that happened with Mars and other planets that have been destroyed in the star system as well too. Basically, every single planet, with the exception of Earth, has been destroyed. So that's all part of war. That's exactly how Uranus has that type of tilt in that way. That again is the result of war. So there's been a lot of fighting, a lot of infighting. It's kind of like seeing many of these different beings that see like this precious gold nugget that the star system represents, and so many different beings have wanted to come in and try and feed off the resources, not only of Earth, but of many other planets, like Maldek, again, an Earth that was many times the size of Earth, that again had all these rich resources, etc. And that there's been a lot of conquest, a lot of fighting, a lot of infighting, a lot of skirmishes that has happened throughout this star system, to feel like someone can just stick a flag in the ground and saying, mine, right? And again, the Draco have been notorious for that. They're very, very touchy about defending what they consider to be their property. So there's been a lot of war fighting throughout our planets, throughout our planetary system, throughout our star system for many ages. And now at a point now, it feels like a lot of that is now starting to calm down. There feels like they're starting to move more into a tranquility. But again, there still are riffraff. There still are rebellious groups that want to come in and wreak havoc and try to reclaim their star system. So there's been a lot of interventional assistance in favor of humanity to clear out the star system, because what they're doing, it's kind of like looking at, I guess you could say the best way to put it is custodians that are cleaning up the space, so eventually humans can come here, they can explore their planet without being fired at, without being destroyed, etc. And being able to look at all of these different types of relics that have been placed on these planets for man to eventually see. And so that will eventually happen. So again, we have a lot to look forward to, but we have the custodians behind the scenes cleaning up a lot of the environment, that when the time does come, when we become an interstellar society, a galactic civilization, and we start exploring our own solar system, we're going to see a lot of incredible phenomena that's just waiting for us. So, it's kind of like the custodians, they got their feather dusters, or brushing things off. So, yeah, all right. When the master comes, it'll be a nice, delicate experience for him. I'll make sure that he gets tea and biscuits. It'll be great, right? That is the mentality of, again, a lot of these custodians, just making sure that the star system is safe when humanity moves to that next step, which will be very soon, to actually go out through the star system and look into these incredible relics, the ancient pyramids, other different forms of phenomenology that exist on different planets, seeing other different life on planets, just in our own locale here. We're going to be able to take a look at that as well. All right, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up this presentation today. So again, thank you everybody for being a part of the program, and we are going to go ahead and confirm you're part of the program tonight by going into questions. So with the questions, I'm going to be connecting with the higher mind tonight. If there is a specific request for Adronis, then I will bring Adronis through. But if it's just a common question, then I will go ahead and bring the higher mind in. As again, I'm connecting a lot more with that. And in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be releasing some videos that are of the higher mind, because it's just as incredible information as Adronis. But again, Adronis represents a certain proxy and personality, and some people like that. So again, if you do have a question with Adronis tonight, you can share. All right, I'm going to go ahead and open up the chat here. So just going to take a minute to kind of look around for the questions. So again, if you guys do have questions right now, feel free to post it onto the chat. Okay, this one is from Brother James. Brother James asks, were we, current Earth humans, all seeded by the same ET race with similar DNA, such as the Pleiadians? Okay, one moment now as I'm going to attune to the higher mind. We hear and we thank you very much for your question. If you're looking at the idea of the extrapolation of your own DNAs, it is coded through the idea of 22 different races, as you know. These 22 different races often represent human archetypes, but they're also very familiar with certain forms of beings that have some type of a human dignity or dignification or designation in that particular way as well too. So much in regards to beings like the Pleiadians, yes, have been part of these agendas, these types of connections that have shared their own genetic stock with you. You can also look in other particular areas relating to Lyran consciousness. You can also look into Syrian consciousness. So again, some of these particular types of extraterrestrial races that have come here have had some type of karmic association with your people. They have had some type of karmic association pertaining to your past. You can also look at the Orions, and again as the Draco, that also have associations together with your people. You can also look at the beings that you would know as the Zetans, are also in connection together with your own DNA. But basically there is a syntax, a language, a particular type of symphony that is attempting to be created by these 22 simultaneous programs that are running in operations through the laboratory that you would refer to as the moon. And basically it is the idea about being able to harmonize in synchronization the idea of these many different genetic programs so that they follow a certain wavelength. But because of the discrepancies relating to certain forms of solar alignments, celestial alignments, etc., that often take place upon your planet, there can be skewing points. And this is where certain things can heat up, also representing the idea of impurities, as it represents other particular forms of genetic information, genetic extraction, genetic integration that has been brought forward through your own particular race that is attempting to bring about a symmetry, a harmoniousness relating to everything that you are being incorporated with through the idea of personality structures, archetypes, capabilities, neurological programming, neurological capabilities, neurological expansions, degrees in regards to DNA complication, DNA advancements, and DNA purification and integration programs. These are all part of the idea of these ET races that have been aforementioned, such as the Pleiadians and others that we have talked about, that have allowed their contribution to come forward. So if you're looking at the idea of the ancient builder race, you would look familiar to the idea of the sphere beings that Corey Good has talked about. These would be the closest approximation pertaining to the original creators, the ancient builder races that are actually contained within these particular types of apparatus of designation as it relates to visual understanding, that are basically the forerunners to allowing your species to be what it is. Now understand that again, other particular forms of extra universal beings that have actually come from other universes have also assisted in the program as well too, and they are attempting to connect with you in their own way, working together with certain beings, because there has been a co-creation here. This is why you have reptilians, this is why you have other particular types of non-human beings throughout your contact arrangements, is because they have all shared different associations from one reality to another, one universe to another. So in that particular way, this gives you the understanding of other types of beings, the forerunners in that way, such as the sphere beings that have been the ancient builder race, that have worked together in comprising 22 other particular races that represent the highest degrees of integral codes pertaining to your own DNA genome archetype that are in relation, that allow this reconnection, this reamalgamation of energies to come through and connect in this way. So we thank you for your question. All right, great. Thank you very much, Brother James, I think it was. All right, so we will go down the list here. Okay. Okay, well, one person asks, this is not really on the topic with what we're talking about tonight, but Anthony asks, question for Brad, what is your diet like? Are you a vegan? To channel, do we have to give up all alcoholic beverages? I mean, it's not about you giving up anything. If you feel that this is, if you still like going out for a drink on occasion, you can go out for a drink on occasion. You know, it's not about feeling that you need to force yourself into feeling that you need to change your diet if you want to become a channel, if you want to connect with higher mind, etc. Am I a vegan? No, I am not. I am basically a pescatarian, which is basically a vegetarian that eats seafood. So that is where I was. I was on a vegetarian level for a couple of months, and then just kind of moved my way into pescatarianism, where I feel very comfortable right now, feeling really good. But again, it's not really so much, I guess you could say, that diet has been fully responsible for my ability to channel. It is a mentality. That's the most important part. I think the diet itself needs to come through mentality. The more that you are in the state of mentality of connecting with these beings, of realizing that you're putting your energy into something that you are heartfelt, passionate in exploring. That's the most important part. When you're working together with exercise and diet, those are good bonuses. That certainly helps to advance your body. That helps to connect you very strongly, become more sensitive with energies. So it's like a boosting in that way. But really, I've met incredible psychics who have been, in that sense, not always in the best physical condition, but they're incredible. Looking at these people and what they're able to pull through, they haven't really been, quote-unquote, taking care of their bodies as you think a vegan would in that example, but they've been really giving about a lot of great information. So this is basically more so on the idea of an emotional and mental diet. That is what needs to come first. And when your mental and emotional diet is in alignment, you will allow yourself to properly connect to any particular type of diet that you feel serves. Obviously, if you're eating a lot of processed food and all that stuff like that, that's going to create more distortion because, again, of the nastiness that's kept within those forms. Alcohol, again, that's up to you. People who I know, again, sometimes channelers or psychics are smoking, right? They're smoking cigarettes. So again, it's all about being able to work with your mentality states, work with your emotional states, and if you feel that, again, you're working really good and you're being guided to, that there is a connection for you to go more into a diet. I was certainly guided to go more into the lighter meats because I used to eat quite heavy meats years back, from pork and beef and all that, and now I don't even touch any of that stuff. I don't touch chicken, I don't touch turkey, I don't touch pork, I don't touch beef, I don't touch any of that stuff. The only thing I have on occasion is just some fish. And just eating a lot more vegetables. Again, I drink a lot of the chaga tea. That is really helpful. So again, it's all just based upon what you feel serves you. Listen to your body in that particular way. Do I feel that my diet can still improve? Absolutely. But again, it's more so in the idea that I'm looking into the healthy diet of my mentality and my emotions. Okay? Thank you, Anthony, for your question. Okay. So if we're looking at another one, let's see here. Okay, Michael Vintine, I believe his name is. I have a question for you. Who are the Archons, and are they still around? Well, you could basically look at that as a type of opposer race, or basically those that, maybe shadow beings. Some could also represent reptilians. There's a lot of different aspects pertaining to Archons. Basically kind of like game masters that are existing in these kind of darker realms in that sense, and are, have a control agenda, etc. So they basically have a very broad term in that particular way. I would consider it to be the idea of the Archons as something like a Primo Draco, energy in that way, Primo Reptilian energy in that way, much in regards to opposers, other particular beings that exist in different dimensions, in different realities, that are attempting to bring conquest, that are attempting to bring control agendas in that way. From what I can sense overall, much of those beings are being chased out. A lot of, I guess you could say in a way of putting it, spiritual warfare has been happening for a long time on the planet, and that it really is waving a Team Light victory here. So there's a lot more goodness, a lot more harmony, a lot more light that is coming into the planet right now than I think than ever has before. So a lot of these particular types of opposer beings, these rogues in that sense, are being chased out. And if there's riffraff remaining, then there's basically forces behind the scenes that are attempting to flush these beings out. So it's kind of like, in a funny way, Our own star system is going through an enema right now, right? We're being flushed out. We're having a colon cleanse, right? Relating to a lot of these particular beings. So I feel that, yes, there's still some work to do, but overall, I feel a lot of the archonic energy, the opposer energy, the rogue energy, is being removed very thoroughly through our star system. Okay? Thank you very much, Michael, for your question. Okay, we have one here from June. June asks, Aloha, Brad, can you explain how war exists in the galactic plane? I thought that war was only a 3D energy. No. War can exist in all densities, pertaining to first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. It's just wars of different types, right? Different rules apply, different aspects apply. You have to understand that if you're looking at a lack energy, an energy that represents lack, that goes all the way up to 6th density, right? So you're looking at all of these particular types of densities that can go to war. Madronis has even said himself is that there are certain aspects of 6th density that can be very polarizing, that can actually represent a lot of degrees of duality still. It's not a very large band within the spectrum, but it is still there. So yes, it is very possible that other wars can exist. A lot of it is mental wars, just fighting in mentality. A lot of it is in the idea of suppression. A lot of it is just the ability of, again, conquest and looking into the idea to where there can be brought forward more shadow than the idea of light. So a lot of it is very emotional in that way, or you could refer to it in that state, that there's just a lot of mental, emotional wars that can exist in 4th density and, of course, can move itself up into 6th density. And when you're really moving up into the higher levels of the 4th or the 5th or the 6th, you notice that there isn't a lot of emotion. But again, there are still those particular bandwidths, very small, that can exist in these wars. And again, these are just basically like manifestation mental wars, and that can exist, absolutely. It's not about thinking that 3D is where it's all bad happening, and once we get to 4D, once we get to 4th density or 5th dimension, everything's going to be good. No, it doesn't work that way. You have to understand that the Argothans themselves, the 4th density Argothans or 5th dimensional Argothans, have been dealing with a lot of problems. They've been on the brink of war as well too, just through their own cultures and their 4th density, right? You are not bailing yourself out of conflicts when you're going up a higher density. It doesn't work that way. It's not about density to determine your polarity. It's about the idea that you're moving on into other particular realms of consciousness that have different ground rules in that way. But there can still be conflicts. There can still be challenges that exist in those particular planes. There can be wars. Absolutely. Again, it's just different types because 3rd density is very physical. Yes. We move on to the higher densities. We're looking into different types of archetypes of war. So again, looking into mental planes, looking into warring with emotions, warring with all of these manifestation abilities as well too. It's a lot more different. It's kind of like going into the dream plane and just seeing all these large things just manifest. A lot of the idea of just being able to flash a horrifying picture at somebody can be an aspect of war, right? So again, it works in different ways. So this is why you're attuning yourself so that no matter what density you're in 3rd density, you can be a very enlightened being, even just being in 3rd density, because you're choosing a spectrum that represents yourself, that feels this is who I am, this is my harmony, and I'm going to align to that. There you go. That is you connecting to an energy that you prefer while in 3rd density, right? So it's not about densities that are bailing you out and feeling that you're not going to experience war. You absolutely can if you choose to, because no matter where you go, that energy exists, just coming together in different transformational forms. Okay? Thank you, June, for your question. Okay. So I'm going to just kind of scroll down the list here. Okay, getting lost in these chat here. Okay. Okay, so Angie1111 asks, do each of us have to wait for the masses to have contact and see these ET races? No, you don't. Again, understand that when you are connecting, let me just take a moment here to connect with the higher mind. We thank you. Understand that as you are connecting together with all these different type of extraterrestrial races that you are hearing about, there is one that is going to speak the loudest. And that aspect of you that is going to speak loudest, that resonates together with your focus to connect to that particular type of extraterrestrial energy, is something that holds a rapport to you. It is not about the feeling that you need to stay put, do whatever you feel you need to do in otherwise capacity. until something on a majority level says, oh, by the way, ET races exist. No. Understand that you are your own universes, as you know. You are the creators of your own reality, as you know. You realize that all extraterrestrial races are just different grandiose states of mirror reflections that are connecting back together with you because there is some type of rapport, there is some type of energy. It is very true that some on your planet don't even consider looking at extraterrestrial races because there's just not a resonance there. Some may want to look into the idea of elemental realms, some want to look into fey realms, some may want to look into angelic realms. It's all based upon the idea of the reflections of energies that you prefer, that you know that these energies of reflection are speaking to your soul. So yes, even though you are incorporated with different extraterrestrial genetics, you contain the living library within your own DNA that is capable of accessing all particular type of phenomena that connects you to the idea of the earth plane. And so when you decide that there is an energy of rapport, an energy of connection that you feel in the most alignment with, let that be your guide, not feeling that someone else needs to bring this forward to you, but looking into the idea about where you feel you fit, relating to the energies of reflection that are speaking your name, that are calling to you and bringing forward these energies so that you can allow association and understanding about how more of the divine blueprint of your soul connects, harmonizes, and aligns in the appropriate form that these reflections wish to share with you, that you are now sharing with yourself. Thank you. Okay, let's move on. Hopefully that answers your question, Angie. Thank you. Okay, let me see. I'm just going to kind of go down here. Got a couple more questions here. We're going to probably just take about another 2 or 3 more questions, and we're going to wrap up tonight. We have one here from Brady Thomason, I believe his name is. Question: can you or any other beings resurrect people who have died with their corpse and their physical being back to the way they were as they lived before their deaths? Okay, one moment. We are here. We thank you for your question. Now understand that when you're looking at the idea of resurrection, this is not it. That is not a resurrection principle. That is the idea of a reanimation principle. Now, the reanimation principle is something that has been conformed to in certain degrees of ancient degrees of alchemy and other particular forms of psychic psionic phenomena that have again moved back into ancient times. That the idea of the reanimation of the corpse in that sense is not an embodiment primarily of another self that has been expired, but more so in the idea of the reconnection to where the caster of that particular type of energy is able to interface with other particular bodies that are now inanimate. The idea of the corpse itself would now represent an inanimate composition that is now being altered through the state of that particular person being able to imply their own will in regards to a type of consciousness transference that is now operating the different types of cellular molecular makeup of that body to allow itself to move into a state of emotion or a state of motion. But again, the whole idea really is that that is an animation principle, a reanimation principle. And that is not so much in the idea of the effect of the soul that has passed from that body in question, but again, in regards to the effect of the caster that has allowed the idea of that reanimation to take effect based upon their knowledge and implications of that situation of technique that they are utilizing in regards to a distinct purpose. Thank you. Okay, so we will move on to... I think we're going to take 2 more questions, and then we're going to wrap up. All right, so here's one for Adronis. Adronis, will Earth separate when changing dimensions? Okay, very good. So I'm going to take a moment now to connect with Adronis' energy, and he will answer that question. Will Earth separate when changing dimensions? We are here at this time, and we bid you greetings, and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning into this broadcast being brought forward through your internet collective consciousness. In regards to the entity's question, is the Earth separating in regards to moving into another dimension? Yes, in a way. Now understand that your own dimensional outlook as it pertains to 3rd and 4th density phenomena exist in 2 different spheres, as it it were. And in order for you to look at the different trajectory perspectives relating to these spheres, they are not in that sense performing a type of physical separation, but they are moving more into the idea of what you would know as an etheric separation. So again, yes, there have been another particular types of alignment of a physical earth that is moving together and aligning itself harmoniously, and in a way that could be seen as a separate planet. But the whole idea in that sense really is that you're looking at this on an etheric level. You are looking in the idea that when there is a third density to fourth density shift, you are looking at something that is an association together with a type of Vesica Piscis. That the idea in that sense of etherically, energetically, these particular spheres splitting, like a type of, shall we say, mitosis. And so yes, that is primarily happening as this shift occurs. Now the whole idea is that this has been happening within the last couple of years of your time. Now basically it's like looking at these two ethereal aspects that again in dimensional perspective they appear separate, but when you're looking at their own home reality pertaining to a density initiative in that form, that density matrix, they are stilled. And so the whole idea is that looking at it like a rainbow bridge that has been formed together between the third density Earth and the fourth density Earth. And many of you are crossing this rainbow bridge. And the end of the rainbow bridge begins this coming fall to this coming winter, between your autumnal equinox and your winter solstice. And so the whole idea is that yes, there is this splitting that has happened. And again, you are moving across this bridge appropriately based upon your alignments. And again, as we stated, the more lighter that you are able to move further into this dimensional active form in that way, the more that you will be able to fully cross this particular bridge. And that you are connecting with the atmosphere of the world that you prefer based upon the alignment that you have been given through yourself. Because as we stated, nobody is making this choice for you. You are making it for yourself. We thank you. All right, great. Okay, and we're going to take one last question before we wrap up. Okay, and here's one last one here from Sharanjit. And she asks, Adronis, how do we know if we have met with an incognito or stand-in I have heard you speak of? Okay, one moment. We thank you once again, Sharanjit, for your question. Let us answer your question by asking a question of our own. Do you know when you fall in love? Because that's the exact same feeling. When you feel that you are connecting to another, of another world in that sense, that is, shall we say, incognito upon your planet. Now, as we've stated, yes, there are thousands of different incognito extraterrestrials that are passing themselves off as human beings that are walking your Earth right now. This is very common. The whole idea in that sense is that they're called incognito for a reason. They are not just going to go out and reveal something to you. So when you have that particular type of sensation where you feel that there is something interesting about this person, I have that feeling. I don't feel that they're quite of this world. And so you may have that particular sensation. Now again, whether that being admits to it or not, they may not, you still have that particular sensation. But in that sense, it is not uncommon for many of you to be interacting with some type of incognito extraterrestrial on a daily basis. You can find them within your stores, you can find them on your sidewalks, your streets, etc. You can see them driving cars. They are, again, acting just as humans would act. There can be times, too, where you are looking at a human being that may be, quote-unquote, incognito in origin, and that as you turn back around, you no longer see them. You swore that they were just there, and now you turn your head, and now they are gone. That can happen as well, too. And again, there can be other different forms of phenomena behind that. But the whole idea we can best suggest is that if you know you feel it, trust your feelings, because your feelings will tell you more when you truly encounter that state pertaining to such a sensation of communicating with another incognito extraterrestrial. And again, they are here on this planet to do certain types of work. Some in that sense represent simple acts of kindness. Others may represent energetic work. Again, just to be a type of mentor in a short-term capacity. To say one line to you, have the most beautiful day you can imagine, you are special. And now you never see that person again. Well, that could be an incognito as well. Again, many different possibilities. This is how your reality works. It doesn't give anything away. you have to trust in order for you to give an understanding about what you feel is appealing, to understand what you feel you are encountering here, to give any particular type of credence relating to the emotions, the sensations that you feel. So trust those sensations, explore them more, and more answers will come. We thank you for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius. Thank you again. Farewell for this timing, and we now return to the conduit. We will speak to you again, as now is forever, and all is one. Goodbye. In higher mind, we send love, appreciation, and we now conclude this transmission. All right, great. Well, thank you, everybody, for wonderful questions today. I know I wasn't able to get to all of them because there's quite a few questions on the chat. But thank you again for tuning in this evening to the Reality Whisperer Webcast. So again, feel free to join us next week as we'll have another topic. I'm still finding out what the good topic is to talk about next week, so I will be announcing it within the next day or two here. So again, thank you for being here tonight. Again, realitywhisperer.com, private sessions with the higher mind, with Adronis, with Rayar. Again, digital courses, free video, free MP3 meditations, and a lot more. Feel free to check that out. Thank you again, everybody, and I look forward to speaking to you next week here on YouTube live stream with the Reality Whisperer Webcast. Have a wonderful evening wherever you are in the world. Take care. Much love. Namaste, and may it be well with you. Goodbye.